I forgot to put record on. All right, so again, we went over this one, and I do want to make sure, because I do, now I'm going to jump back again, and I'm going to jump back into the handout, because it's one thing to key it in and get it to work. It's another thing for you to say, oh, I understand what we're doing. All right. So show a query to select all category descriptions, all product names, all right, the retail price, the wholesale price, and the vendor name. And this right here, this product name here is wrong. That should be ID. All right. From now, so again, you'll notice now this is bigger. Look at this. We're now grabbing information from 1, 2, 3, 4 category, or for 4 tables. So we're grabbing the category description from the categories table. We're grabbing the product ID and the product price from the products table. We're grabbing the wholesale price from the vendors table, but we also need to bring in the product vendor, the vendors table, so that we're able to put in the vendor name. So we're grabbing 5 pieces of information that actually exist from or in 4 different tables. So when we do this, we've got to join on this, this, this. So in other words, 4 tables means that we're going to have 3 different join conditions. 5 tables means we're going to have 4 different join conditions. Does that make sense?
Yes.
In addition, we also want the vendor name to be Lone Star or the category to be bikes. So rather than getting every single one of these back, we're only going to get the ones back where the vendor name is Lone Star or the category is bikes. So what you see when we ran this, or what you hopefully saw when we ran this, and I'm going to go back again. Boy, every time I go and switch back, it takes where it puts the window for PHPMyAdmin and it moves it. So I've got to sit there and look through all these because I got about 15 windows open to find out the one I'm looking for. There it is. All right. So when you look at the output here, it says that we have 37 records. I'm not going to go over all 37. That said, when you look here, notice we've got a bunch from Lone Star. Here's one that is not, but these are all bikes. So if you see that, if you look right here, all right, so we had Lone Star, then we had bikes. Now we've got some car wrecks, but notice who the vendor is. It's back to Lone Star. So again, when we run this query, all right, when we run this query, since we are running it and we are using an OR in here, if both conditions are met or if either one condition is met, everything is cool. All right. Otherwise, it's not. And I'm, again, hopefully at least, hopefully that makes some sense to you. All right. And, the funny thing is when you start looking at this, you may or may not realize it, but this actually is a pretty easy, pretty simple database. And what I mean is it's one database, and it's one database that has 8 tables in it. All right. So what? Well, a friend of mine, I shouldn't even say, he'd end up becoming a friend of mine. He's a former student, and he was not an old guy, but when he was a student, he was only about maybe 4 or 5 years older than me. We're talking a good 20 years ago, if not more. He worked in a junkyard, and literally, I don't know how he found his way to Blackhawk, but he did. And he was one of the brighter people I've ever known. Long story short, he ended up graduating and he got a job with the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. He wrote these queries all day long. And his name was John Sissons. And I said, John, with the queries you wrote, what's the longest one you ever wrote? And he thought about it and imagined that this, this is a page. He said, I had one query that was 10 pages long and probably had close to 1,000 lines in it. I said, why would you write something like that? He said, I was digging through a database that had more than 1 million records in it to try to pick out 4 records. That's getting pretty heavy. What we're doing now, I'm not saying it's easy because you're just learning it. But that said, it's not nearly as hard as it could be if we had bigger databases, etc. All right. Now for the next one, it should be the same query. All right. It should be the same query, but change this or that you've got down here, change that to an and. So now it has to be only the bikes that are being sold by Lone Star Bike Supply. Now, so previously we had 33, but now notice we only have 3. They're all bikes, and notice who the vendor is. All right, so you can see again, I can't say this to you too many times. All right, just exactly the discrepancy between using or and between using and. Now, I didn't make these numbers up. I have a hard time believing that they're selling a $15 bike for $1,650 or a $15 bike for $1,200. This one I can believe. There's a 5 times markup. It cost them $125. They're selling it for $635. But I don't know. So I don't know how valid this data is. Not to be funny, mean, or whatever. I don't really care. All right. But you start to see when you look at this stuff. All right. You may or may not have heard of this term before, but there is a term that's called data mining. And again, you may have heard of the term, you may not have. But what a lot of companies do is they say, hey, the data that we need is in there, but you've got to mine it. In other words, you've got to go through it. It's in there, but you've got to find it out. All right. So I'm up to number 12. So let me change back to here. And oops, the wrong one. Of course, I would bring up the wrong one. There it is. So for number 12, it says show the query to select all employees, first names, last names, order numbers, product number, and quantity ordered. Sort them by quantity. This is a very simple query, except we've got to come in here and change all those emp to employee. All right, I think it's just employee and not employees, but we're going to find out. It says here employees dot employee first name. All right, I think that's employee. All right, so there's their first name and last name. We also want the order number, which is the order ID. All right. All right, then from order details, we also want the product number, which is the product ID. This is order ID. And from here, we want, this is probably going to be called order detail. All right. From employees. Notice here I've got the full table name. All right. Order details, employees, employee ID, orders, employee ID, orders, order ID, order details, order ID, and order details, order detail, quantity ordered. So I'm going to grab all of this. Hopefully I've got at least most of it cleaned up. Change, go back to here. Oh, come on, it's getting hung up again, so. Oh, come on, what is your problem? All right, it says it's returning the null set. Now, just so you know, trying to make some lemonade out of lemons here, that's not an error. That means there's nothing that I put in that met the criteria I was looking for. So let's think about why this might be. I'm going to put the query back in again. All right. We want order ID. I'm trying to see what IDs we're checking on. Order ID and product ID. All right. So let's look at those first. Select order ID from orders. Okay. And when we do that, we're going to see what? 1, 2, 3. Good. So let's try to select it again. We're going to end up, I think, having to do another update. So now we want order ID from order details. And that looks good. All right. So it must be the employee ID. Employee ID I needed from orders and from employees. And again, you'll notice it's 1, 2, 3, fine. And you'll notice that's not fine. So we're going to have to try to do another update query to see if we can fix this. All right. I'd like, let me try it first to make sure it works. Update employees, set employee ID equals employee ID plus 700. Well, only 8 rows are affected, so that's actually a good thing. And you can see they're now 701, etc. So please do that query. So type in update employees, spell update right, Jeff. Update employees set employee ID equal to employee ID plus 700. So run that query. It should work with no problems, but then do a select employee ID from employees to make sure they've changed. And then let me know whether or not they have, please. Did it work?
Yeah.
All right, Angie?
Yeah.
All right. Then we're going to see, it's not the one I want. So hopefully I've got it here. Crud. I thought I'd saved it. So let's see. All right. First name, employee last name, order ID, product ID. Where are that? Oh, good. There you go. So let me give you this one.
Okay, mine worked.
All right. Keegan, I take it you're still typing, and that's fine.
Mine worked too.
Okay. So I'm going to jump back on mine. I'm going to jump back to here and fix this. So give me just a second. I've almost got it done. All right. So, all right. Now, hopefully in just a second, you're going to see why you typically would go in and alias a table. All right. I'm going to change employees to E. I'm going to change orders to O. And I'm going to change order details to OD. Why? Now I can say E, E, O, OD, OD. Once you change it, you've got to change it all over. All right, so I'm going to try to pretty this up just a little bit. You don't have to put in this one, that's fine. Again, I'm just trying to show you, for completeness sake, why some people do things one way and some people do things another way. That's all. You'll notice too, in this one, I put everything in lowercase. Maybe you noticed that, maybe you didn't. Same results. All right. So again, from the employees table, we've got the first name and the last name. From the orders table, we got the order ID. From the products table, we got the product ID. From the, I think it was the product vendors or one of the others, we've got the quantity ordered. And again, we could come in if we wanted to. You'll notice that when we did this, we ordered it by the quantity ordered. But we could order it by anything that we wanted to order it by, and we could order it by multiple fields. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense to you now. All right. You know, as far as the way that we're doing this. All right, almost caught up. Again, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to fix the actual worksheet as we're going through it. All right. Let's see, how many problems are there on here? 16, 17. 17 total problems. And as of right now, that's great. I've got a guy that every other week I cut my lawn or he cuts my lawn. It's his week and he's outside of my door right now. So if you hear that, that's why you hear it. So he's going to be out there for a few minutes, but that's fine. We're just going to lumber on. All right, so I'm up to number 13. And it's pretty much the same query that we just looked at, but now what we need is for those people who ordered more than 4. So in other words, we could put in the same query that we just had. And I don't even know right now, is this your project share right here? Are you seeing the PHP My Admin window?
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna finish this one up. Let's see where this and OD dot order detail quantity ordered is, let's say, we'll say here less than or equal to 4, right? Because the ones you saw before all had 6 at the beginning. So I want to see if we do this, if we're going to get, and let's do this in ascending order, just so you see that. All right, notice the quantity ordered. They're in ascending order, okay? There's some. So people, looks like they either ordered 1 or they ordered 4. All right, so let me put that one in there. I've rewritten the query a little bit, but that's the one for number 13. So I'll let you go and put that in. And once you do, let's take another break. It's 10:52, and we'll start up, let's just say we'll start up at 11:10, and I'll go till about 11:30. We'll see if we can write 1 or 2 more of these. All right? We're not doing bad though. We got up to 13 right now, and we'll at least do 1 or 2 more. So if we can get like 15 out of 17 done, that's fine. So let me know when you have this, and then we will figure out our break time from there. Again, it should be the same query you just put in. except you're adding this line to it.
Okay.
Got it? Great. Keegan, you got it?
Yeah, I got it.
All right. So I've got 10:55. Let's come back in 10 minutes at 5 minutes after 11. Okay? And we'll see how much more we can finish up on this. I'll see you in a little bit.